Miss Roya has lost a sister. In the middle of the night, armed men were storming homes. They were beating up families. They were tearing books, breaking furniture. They had no mercy for the elderly or the young. And they were taking the person they were looking for in front of all the family members. From this moment on, nothing was like before. Everything had changed. And nothing became like before anymore. When a child leaves a home, she says, Mom, I'm going to my friend's place. I'll be back soon. But she never came back. The mother was still waiting for her, but she never came back. Anxiety, anguish started. From this moment, when the quest for these beloved persons started, the insults and humiliation and physical and mental torture of families started as well. They went through unimaginable suffering just to know where their beloved ones are and what has happened to them. They didn't have a right to examine their cases, to have a legal counsel, and to be informed of the legal process. All these rights were a joke to the authorities. What was eternally present was the mocking of families by everyone, by the judges, by those responsible in detention centers, and even the janitors in these places. The question is, what was the crime the families had committed? Sometimes the conditions of life were becoming so difficult in the schools and the neighborhoods for families that they had to leave. The other members of the family were not admitted to university. They were not employed by the state or even in the private sector. The existence of a prisoner or an executed member of family was a threat to the other members of the family. A beloved one was in prison, and the fear of the execution of this beloved person was on one side, but on the other side there was also the threat of the arrest of the other members of the family. Sometimes families had to hide their other children, and they had to live in hidings to protect themselves from arrest and fake accusations. The arrest of one member of the family in place of the other member was not exceptional. It happened very often. A grandmother is in prison and is tortured. She will be released only under the condition that the grandchild is delivered to the revolutionary court. Otherwise, the grandmother will be tortured. People are still fired from their jobs, even now that 20 to 30 years have passed from the moment of executions. Those young people who were arrested in 2009 and tried in unfair courts, they were sometimes accused of being a family member of political prisoners of 1980s. I can mention Omid Montazeri and Mousavi among those. And how families were informed of that their children had been executed. Sometimes this information was published in newspapers or other media, or they were contacting them by phone to give the news. Or sometimes when the family was going to the prison to visit the prisoner or for other administrative affairs, they were informed that the child or this member was executed. For example, Feridun Bakhshi was arrested in September 1981 by Revolutionary Guards. His family were not informed that he has been arrested. For 48 hours, they went to all police stations and hospitals to look for him because they thought he had had a car accident. And they don't find him. 2 days later, Jamhuri Islami newspaper publishes the name of Feridun together with 104 other people who were executed. And that's how the family is informed that its child has been executed. Many parents, when they saw their children's names in the list of those executed, they had a stroke and they lost their life, they died. And how they informed that the virgin daughter has been executed by bringing sweets to their parents. The Islamic Republic, in order to prevent that virgin girls go to heaven after the execution, they organized the rape of these girls by the Revolutionary Guards at the eve of the execution. And what happened to the bodies of the prisoners? The injustice was so intense that families were happy to get back the bodies, the tortured bodies of their children. That was a very strange feeling. Families were telling each other, you are lucky, you could get back the body of your children. This shows how the obvious right to know, to be informed, to accept the bitter truth, and to say farewell to the beloved ones. The right to choose where to bury their beloved ones and the right to mourn. They were not authorized, families were not authorized to bury their beloved ones in public graveyards or cemeteries. Many of them are buried at the bank of a river in a mountain without any ceremony. After the Islamic Republic repression, in implementation of the order of Khomeini, planned and executed the plan of annihilation of its opponents, and so guaranteed its own destruction. They had to plan for a cemetery for thousands of unbelievers. They chose a land, a dry land, a desertic land called Khavaran. It is not known who were the first persons who were buried in this land. But we know for sure that some of those who were executed in June 1981 were buried in Khavaran. Some of the others who were executed in June 1981 were delivered to the families. Families buried them in Behesht Zahra. But unashamedly, shamelessly, these bodies were taken out of their graves and they were taken to the cemetery of unbelievers, as they call it, which is for us the Garden of Khavaran. And they were buried in unknown graves there. Since June 1981, the massacre of opponents went very quickly. Thousands of young boys and girls, only because they had a few publications or statements, without trial, they were executed. And that's how Khavaran was filled. Khavaran's mothers, Khavaran's sisters speak. Watch. Mr. Sabi had to leave because he had to go to the airport. And he apologized. What cruelty! No pen can describe this, and no tongue can express this. Thank you.